Hi Internet, my name is Erica and I'm sitting right next to a huge pile of knitwear that I've made this year, so I wanted to share with you. This is my first episode, maybe. I think it's important to introduce myself a little bit and explain to you why I've been wanting to share what I've knitted this year with you. Brief history lesson. My mom taught me how to knit when I was around elementary school. I've always worked a few projects here and there, especially during the colder months, but it has never been a consistent thing, like always having a project around with me. Then a few years ago, I was going through quite a stressful time in my life, and I found relief going back to knitting, and that's how I actually found out about all the knitting community on the internet, Ravelry and stuff. So I've always played around with yarn since I was a child, but it's been a very consistent, almost everyday thing just for the last 2 years. So my origin story is a little bit different than I would say a lot of the other knitters that started during the pandemic, and actually never knitted during the pandemic. I was just working from home, and I remember just another snippet in my villain origin story is seeing my first post. I think it was on Instagram. It was Shawlography by Stephen West, and I was like, you can do that with knitting, you know, that thing that I've been doing forever, and I was bored making straight scarves. I was blown away. Like, that single post sparked a fire, and you know, I started digging in the rabbit hole. I learned continental knitting, you know, I learned English style with straight needles, and I hated it. It was so bulky and heavy. I learned how to work in the round. I discovered the existence of handmade yarns, so many online retailers, a whole universe of fun patterns, fibers that I've never worked with, so many designers and shapes and cool designs that I've never even imagined. I've always had this necessity to create, you know, whether it was drawing, sculpting with clay, cooking, or just daydreaming. This led me to art school, pursuing design degrees, and eventually starting a career in illustration and branding and design. Like, I don't work in STEM like a lot of knitters do, which I find very interesting. For years, I haven't had really the time or the mental energy to draw just for me, and I know it's a bit sad. And during the years, fiber arts, knitting and crochet in particular, have been a huge source of relief for me. They're a creative outlet that is detached from the pressure of work, of my perfectionism, the need to perform to the highest level that I put myself through. I would describe it as it's just for me, you know. If I've made a mistake, dropped a stitch, you know, I can just pick that up. I notice a very small mistake. That's okay, that's character. So I have a very different outlook in terms of fiber arts, and I find it very soothing and calming. You know, you see this thing, very little thing, growing stitch by stitch, day by day, taking shape in your hands, and eventually it becomes a full finished piece. The world is really scary, especially right now, and I do feel a little bit self-conscious about talking about this it's an important topic, but it's not gonna change the world. But I find that it's helpful thing, especially for mental health, for me, myself, and a lot of people. You focus on this very little thing, and you know it's little, but it's your space, and at least that for a little while, it's gonna to turn out great, which is not something that we can say about a lot of things. The world, as we know, so many things that obsess us don't depend from us. There's nothing necessarily you can do about. You can, of course, speak your mind and be informed. We all need some form of relief, and whether yours is the same as mine, I have more. Like, I go to the gym every day, you know, but that for me is more like a medical prescription. Like, it's not a creative outlet. One other very important thing for me is that knitting and wearing my knitwear and crochet wear has helped me a lot in a journey of body neutrality. I wouldn't call it body positivity because I'm far from that goal. For example, when I wear my handmade items, and I'm curious to know if that's the same for you. I focus more on the very good memories, or for example, picking the yarn, learning new techniques. You know, it's a little bit less of I'm feeling self-conscious and insecure, and a sprinkle of, you know, I've made this and I look kind of cute in it, and you know, I made this. I'm actually good. You know, this is an activity that I enjoy, and it's just for me or for gifts. I've been wanting to step out for quite some time, since I enjoy so much interacting with folks on Instagram, on here on YouTube, and on Ravelry. So I thought I would just give it a shot, since I have opinions, you know, and the world needs to know. I want this space to be supportive, inclusive, and most of all, safe, for me, of course, and my audience, if there's ever gonna be one. And for that reason, I'm gonna set some very simple yet firm boundaries. Hate speech of any kind will not be tolerated. Your comments will be deleted and you will be banned. Name calling and other offensive talk will not be tolerated. I'm human, as you might have guessed. I have plenty to learn, so for that reason, of course, constructive criticism will always be welcome. You know, compliments and flattering, of course, but I am open to criticism, and I want to learn more, so suggestions, tip, get them going. If me setting these boundaries upsets you, I kindly ask you to leave, as there are many others much more talented than me. I wish you the best. So before diving into the project, I wanted to give a special mention to what I'm wearing right now, which is my 2022 marathon project. It's a crochet granny square cardigan that I self-drafted. I'm gonna stand up so you can see. It's cropped like waist length, and I don't have a pattern for it. I just sketched both the yarn and worked on it for like months and months and months because I got bored. Just for reference, each square took me around 15 minutes. So I don't know, do with that what you will. The yarn I used, I'm gonna talk about next, but it's Tencel Bamboo Fine. I bought it on Hobby in 4 colorways. I have a lot to talk about this yarn, but I'm gonna talk about next. Let's dive into all of the things that I've knitted in this godforsaken year of 2023. I'm going through this in I would say roughly chronological order. I will talk first about the pattern, construction, if it was easy for me to understand, sizing, and then talk about the yarn, and lastly, you know, rounding up thoughts, how it held to wear and stuff like that. So the first two projects I'm showing you are actually 2022 cast on and 2023 bind offs. First, we have sweater number 21 by the designer My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's hard to fit in the frame because it's, spoiler alert, enormous. This is a top-down drop shoulder mesh knit sweater, has very long sleeves, a folded collar, and then a symmetric split hem. It comes in a grand total of 4 sizes that should accommodate bust measurements from like 80 to 140 centimeters, sorry, I have my notes over there, or 31 to 55 inches. So even though the bust measurements range, I think it's bare minimum, like 80 to 140, I wouldn't call necessarily size inclusive. I would say it's a bare minimum. Dividing that in 4 sizes is, I find it very disappointing, because it is, yes, supposed to be very big, but maybe not so big that you can't fit in under a coat or something. For example, for my chest measurements, I should have knitted size 3, because the designer says if you fall between sizes, you should knit the bigger one, and I didn't that, and I am really glad I did, because this is already absolutely ginormous. I couldn't have imagined, you know, having it even bigger. And you know, part of that is my mistake. My gauge watch was fine, but my live gauge when I actually knitted the garment was much bigger. Of course, when you're knitting such a large garment, you know, you're off by, I don't know, half a stitch when you divide it by something like that, and maybe even having a very I would say fluffy and stretchy fiber, you end up with even more. The pattern, I have to say, it was very quick to follow and easy to understand. I never had any issues. It was my first time doing this type of construction. So the back is shaped with increases, then you pick up stitches on the top of the shoulders, knit one front at a time, then you join in the round and you knit straight down, and you split again for the ribbing on the back. You pick up stitches around the armhole, and you go straight down with no decreases, if I'm correct. And I've seen so many examples on Ravelry of people that have made this in very neutral as well as bright, speckled, and colorful yarns. Speaking about yarn, I used Drops Air in the shade Purple Haze and 2 strands of Kid Silk by Drops in the colorway Heather. I have mixed feelings about both of them, in the sense that Drops Air is definitely very soft, fluffy, and airy. I have a beanie made with just the Purple Haze colorway, and the colorway is beautiful. Like, I think it's pretty accurate how it's showing up on my iPhone camera. It's a fluffy unicorn confetti dream. I think it's gorgeous and very, very fun. I think I am a little bit worried about the fact that, of course, since it's hollow, I've noticed that the hollower a fiber, a thread is, the stretchier it tends to be. So I would be a little bit worried about using it on its own in a bigger garment, because I would be just slightly afraid that it might stretch out under its own weight, even if it's very little weight. Kid Silk that I used, it was a beautiful colorway, but it's very, very itchy. I find this sweater very, very itchy, and it sheds like crazy. Every time I wear this sweater, I found purple hairs for like a month after. I have used another colorway of Drops Kid Silk, and it didn't itch or shed that much, so I'm not sure if that colorway was weird, or I maybe got a dud or a bad batch, I don't know. And you might not think, because of the openness of the fabric, that this sweater is very warm, but it is actually very, very warm and toasty. Definitely the alpaca and mohair are doing their job. I would categorize this garment as a more of a trendy show-stopping piece rather than a staple in your wardrobe that you wear multiple times a week. But of course that depends on your personal style and your lifestyle and your preferences. But since this is so quick to knit, I would say that it would be a really nice occasion to experiment with your style, or with a color that is a little bit out of your comfort zone, and you can whip this out easily in a few days. So why not? And I don't necessarily agree that knitwear should, like, it's supposed to be as timeless as it could be, because it's never timeless. As one great poet once said, nothing lasts forever, even cold November rain. Anyway, I don't necessarily agree that you should always knit very staple pieces that you wear every day. I think the great thing about knitwear that it's supposed to last a very long time, and that means that you're gonna wear it until it falls off of your body, or it means that once you don't wear it anymore, you can pass it down, and someone else can enjoy it and give it a new life, wear it in another way. So I think that is very, very inspiring. Like, every time I buy a vintage piece, I think, you know, who wore this before me? Which life did they have? How did they style this? So I think it's really great. It is part, I think, of this very slow fashion and circular economy. So don't feel guilty about knitting trendy pieces in trendy colors, because they're going to last. They're not going to a landfill once you're bored of them. And I think it's really versatile, and of course, depending on the color that you choose, it's gonna have a very completely different look. And it's definitely a very fun piece to style. To me, it's like a thumbs down in terms of size inclusivity, considering that it's not old pattern. I think it was released at the end of 2021. So yeah, do better. Is my Winter Lights shawl by the very popular designer Stephen West, and I'll call this my pride and joy. I love it so much. And this is a fingering weight shawl designed for color gradient, but of course you're free to do whatever you want. It features a variety of stitch textures and an I-cord, applied I-cord over the edges, and if you're asking, is this an 800 stitches I-cord bind off? Yes, it is. Once you do one of these, you'll never be scared of anything. So I'm gonna just drape it over my shoulders to show you. It's a great pattern. I had so much fun knitting this. You start from here. There's a very helpful video to show you the I-cord tab cast on. It can be a little bit fiddly, and then you have garter stitch over here, slip stitches, dots, bubbles, this like more of a honeycomb, and then you have this very nice wavy border with eyelets. it looks very complicated and majestic, but it actually much easier to knit than it looks. I was really surprised. The pattern is written brilliantly. It wasn't my first time knitting patterns, shawl patterns by Stephen West. I did Twists and Turns last year, as well another one that I'm going to show you later. You're working one color at a time, and honestly the techniques, if you can increase, decrease, making eyelets, I think you should give it a try if you've been eyeing this pattern for a while, because I think I've knitted this in like 3 weeks, considering that I was working full-time. So this flew off my needles. Also because it's big, you know, it's my entire wingspan. It's taller than me, but it's not as big as some other Stephen West's pattern. And you can wear it like this, and you have this very beautiful motif behind. You can just have it over here. You can scrunch it up, wear it as a scarf. So yeah, I love this thing so much, and I think pictures don't do it justice, because it flows beautifully. And I think part of the reason why I love it so much is the yarns that I used. I used the very popular Knitting for Olive Merino in the colorways Marzipan, Dusty Artichoke, this the lightest green, Dusty Sea Green, and Slate Green. And I was very curious to try Knitting for Olive Merino, because I was, you know, a little bit nosy, you know, is this worth the hype? Everyone loves it. I think it is worth the hype, to be completely honest with you. I think it's fairly priced. It's not the cheapest, but I think you have you get a lot of yardage. The color palette is beautiful, but that is of course a personal opinion. I think on an objective standpoint is a very wide and well thought out color palette. You could easily make 4 or 5 color, very balanced color gradients. I think for each type of hue, you wanted purple, you wanted yellow, you wanted orange, bright pink, cool tone versus warm tone like green. So I think that is a very well thought out color range. I've used various skeins of different colorways during this year, and I've never found any inconsistencies, knots, thick thin areas, never. So it interacts very well with each other. It's very consistent. I wouldn't say it's the warmest, because it's a very I don't want to say thick, but there is so much substance. It's very plied, so it's a very solid yarn, and it doesn't have that much of a halo. So of course, if there are not as many air pockets inside of the thread, it's not gonna be as warm, but I think it's gonna hold up great. I've worn this a lot, and it hasn't peeled one single time. It held up incredibly beautiful. I think it's very soft. It doesn't itch. I can wear it next to my neck, no issues at all. It never bled. Any colors never bled on me when I was blocking it, even the black that I've used. So of course, it's a great bonus if you're doing something that is very colorful. You have dark colors next to very light colors. I know this is something that it happens a little bit more with hand dyeing, but I had some commercially dyed yarns bleed on me, and this one didn't. So yeah, honestly, I'm so happy. I think this is the most beautiful thing that I've made this year, and yeah, I'm seriously considering knitting a second one. I was thinking in a summer fiber like bamboo or silk, you know, for maximum drape. Then I worked on Balaclava number 2, which is another design by my favorite things knitwear. I've knit 3 this year, 1 I've gifted, so I don't have that with me. One thing, again, very disappointing, is the size range. Like, there is no size range. This pattern comes only in 1 size, which is extremely disappointing for such a dainty and flattering finished object. I don't know if you're familiar with this type of garment. The construction is very standard. You cast on here, you knit a rectangle, then you pick up stitches here and here. You just go down for the head. In this case, you have some shaping over here around the chin. Then you cast on stitches for like under the chin. You join in the round and you knit the neck, and then you pick up stitches over here to do the border around the face. So that is very standard for this type of garment. I'm gonna show you by just wearing it and ruining my hair, but I made a little mistake. I added 1 too many repeats. No, I think the white's gonna be better. So this garment is knitted on 4.5 millimeter needles, like a DK plus small hair gauge, with this really cute cable pattern. You have some shaping here. So it's a very quick knit. I think it's really good for gifts. Of course, this is the one and only size, and it does fit me. But I don't have necessarily a big head, and someone who has a bigger or a smaller head than me might enjoy this. And don't they deserve it? I read a lot of people complaining on Ravelry of the shallowness of the balaclava, because it does cover my ears, but as I said, I don't have a big head. One tip I have for you, that it's not written in the pattern, but I am an expert at this point, so I can give you my trade secrets. Watch out for the bind off at the bottom of the neck, because you decrease and then you have less stitches, so you might end up working a bind off that is way too tight and you could fit that over your head. That happened to me a few times. This one is a little bit tight as well, but I've worn this so much that it loosened up. One other thing, the pattern doesn't tell you to decrease like half of or a full needle size for the ribbing around the face, but I would, just for a neater ribbing. One other thing that helps with the fit is tubular bind off, so like 2 rounds of double knitting and then like Kitchener stitch Italian bind off, because that, since you have half of the stitches for those 2 last rows, that does prevent it from flaring out with wear. It just keeps it a little bit tighter without being very, very uncomfortable. So the 3 samples that I made the first one for my aunt, that she saw the one that I made last year. She said, yeah, you know, I would really want one of those for when I go to work in the winter on the bike, just biking. I've squeezed 1 entire balaclava out of 1 skein of knitting for olive heavy merino. I think that maybe the ribbing was a little bit shorter than this one, but I think that is a very helpful thing to know. You know, you can buy just 1 skein and knit a whole garment to gift or for yourself without having any scraps. This one I made in Hobby Highland wool, held double, and as I said, it's too big for me because I did 1 too many of these repeats, so it's too long. I think the color is really nice, but it's a bit itchy. My comment on this yarn. This one that I wear almost every day. It's made in drop spooner, one strand of drop spooner and one strand of random kid silk mohair that I bought at my local yarn shop. It is a bit scratchy. The scratchiness really improved after the first blocking, so I think I'm gonna wash it again. To me, the priority was to have a very warm garment to wear. For example, I use this when I go to the gym in the morning, or if I'm taking a walk outside, just very quick. Just I wear my coat, I wear this, and I'm good to go. My head, my ears, the back of my neck, my throat, and most notably my jaw are all protected and very warm and toasty. So it was definitely the year of wearing balaclavas. This type of garment has improved my TMJ queen existence quite a bit, because as you might know, you might end up with a lockjaw, and nobody likes lockjaw. It's not fun. Then we have the penny gloves. I only have this pair that I've made a month ago, but I've made two pairs earlier this year that I've gifted. Penny gloves is a design by the designer Petite Knit, and again, very disappointingly, it comes only in one size for like a fingering plus mohair type of gauge on 3mm needles, and it is very disappointing, since this is useful type of garment. Personal opinion, I think when a pattern is so basic that you can find it very easily for free, or you could whip it out to yourself with just some experience, I think there should be an ample size range or some suggestion on how to adjust it for different gauges. Just a very plain bottom-up stockinette mitten with just some increases, I think in one size is very disappointing, especially for such a popular designer. Like, I don't understand why, because so many people would want something like this. It would be great for kids, for people that have just slightly, sorry, I have more hair in my eye. Yeah. For people that have smaller or bigger hands than myself. So I was really disappointed. The first two pairs I made with knitting for olive merino, held double to get a thicker fabric to keep you warmer. And for example, that created a slightly thicker thread than it was supposed to be. And I ended up knitting almost, I think I'm knitting a whole glove and finding out that it was way too big for the person that I was knitting that for. I had to unravel and cast on a little bit less stitches. So I mean, that would have been fixed by some gauge swatching, so that was an overlook from my part. Yeah, it was quite sad, because for example, you might want to have a denser fabric for a pair of gloves. You might not want mohair on your gloves. Yeah, so the first two pairs that I made at the beginning of the year were made with just one ball for both of the pairs of gloves. So I think that combo is really good for, as I said, like the balaclava number 2 for like gifts. You just buy one ball of knitting for olive merino or any other finger merino that comes in like roughly 250 meters, 50-gram dose. And you can make a pair of gloves with no scraps. This pair I made with, I have this here, Hobby Unicorn Solid in the shade Caramel, which is absolutely beautiful. And one strand of, I have to check my notes for this, Rico Design Essential Super Kid Mohair Silk Print in the color 4, which is like a jewel tone rainbow, absolutely beautiful. And that created these rainbow fade gloves. They are very, very fun. I did some modifications. Since these are bottom up, I knitted the thumb first and then the palm, because the pattern says to knit the palm first and then the thumb, but that would have caused the thumb to be a completely different color. Not that it's a problem, I just wanted it to fade. And I added 2 stitches decrease before binding off here, just so they wouldn't flare out this much, to improve the fit a little bit. These are not for me, these are for a friend that is taller than me, and that has she has bigger hands. I have pretty small hands. I am a little bit jealous because I don't get to keep them, but that friend is very, very knit worthy, so I hope she'll enjoy them. To use up the scraps, I'm making a headband. So if you want this very exclusive pattern, provisional cast on, 44 stitches, knit mindless stockinette around until you've wrapped that around your head, Kitchener stitch, boom, you have a headband. Next, we have a garment that is very, very difficult to show you, so I'm just gonna wear it on myself. This is the Robinson wrap cardigan by Handmade by Florence here on YouTube. It's a like DK weight, roughly wrap cardigan with modified raglan increases, and it's black, so you can see absolutely anything. Yeah, you have modified raglan increases, ball knitting all around the edges. You have a ribbon on the bottom and then around the cuffs, and I-cord ties. It comes in 9 sizes, accommodating natural bust measurements from 75 to 155 centimeters. And I found the pattern very, very clear to follow, and I think, for example, the modified raglan increases give you a very flattering rounding of the shoulders. I did modify it quite a bit, mostly sizing of it. I'm not mentioning my actual measurements, but for reference, I'm slightly more petite, leaning in the bone structure department, but I have a bit of a, you know, so usually if I follow my bust measurements, everything ends up very, very, very oversized. So I knitted size E, so it was the correct sizing for my bust measurements. When I was knitting on it, it was quite clear that it was going to be quite big. For example, you can see the amount of ease that is around my arms. If you look at the sample, it's quite fitted, but honestly I love it. If I were to have made a very tight one, I wouldn't have worn it as much as I've worn this one. I wore it a bunch this year. So the modifications that I did were, once I noticed it was going to be quite larger, sorry, I didn't take my time and tie it properly, but yeah, once I noticed it was going to be quite bigger than it was supposed to be, and probably my gauge was a little bit off as well, I added a few decreases around the waist. I stopped increasing 10 rows before I was supposed to, and I knitted the ribbing a little bit shorter than I was supposed to, but that was just me being lazy and wanting to wear my cardigan. So The pattern is written for knitting for olive, merino, and soft silk mohair, so DK weight gauge. I thought the idea of a hairy black cardigan to be absolutely horrifying. So I just held 2 strands of knitting for olive merino in a shade licorice just together to knit this, which may have skewed the gauge a little bit and made it a little bit bigger. It has, I don't know if you can see, there is some pilling under the armpits, but I think that's for how much I've worn this during the year. I've cast this on in early March, so it has been through quite a lot. I think 4 or 5 washes. I've worn this just over my bare skin, over like tops and stuff. You can decide if you wanted to have it tighter or looser around the waist by adjusting how you tie the ties. I'm so of both about the pattern and the yarn choice. It's held up great, and it was very clear, as all of Florence's patterns that I've knitted. Yeah, definitely 10 out of 10 for me. I just noticed that I didn't actually weave in all of the ends, but we're gonna just ignore that. Next, very niche design. I don't think you've ever seen a sample of this. The Ingrid Sweater by Petit Knit that looks like a huge blob. I'm gonna stand up. This is a top-down drop shoulder sweater in texture pattern. It's mostly knits and pearls. I found the pattern quite easy to understand. I had no issues. The only thing, the instruction for the decreases in this section of the sweater are not extremely clear. So you can see mine are a bit ugly, but I don't think that's so bad. But other than that, I think it was quite clear. There are quite a lot of short rows in this pattern. You have short rows to shape the top of the shoulders. You have short rows here and here on the sleeves to improve the fit. This was actually my first time understanding really like how short rows work. There is a few videos made by another creator that explain a few things. They're in Danish. I don't speak Danish, but there are subtitles, and then of course you can just look at what they do. Despite them being Danish, I think they're quite clear. Different stitch patterns keep the whole process really engaging without you having to check the chart every 5 seconds. And it's designed to have around 20 centimeters of 8 inches of positive ease, so it's meant to be very oversized. The sizing should fit just measurements ranging from 80 centimeters to 150 centimeters. So I don't know, I would say quite standard sizing. I did not necessarily modifications, but adjustments to what I prefer to wear my body type. For example, I chose to knit a size down to have a little bit less ease, yes, around my bust, but it was going to be not too enormous for the rest of my frame. And since this is a very straight, with no shaping, straight boxy garment, I usually prefer this type of silhouette to be drapey, and the pattern was designed to have DK plus mohair on 4mm needles, so I thought this would have given me a stiffer garment and more like a stiff fabrics on a very boxy shape. I just don't personally like this on myself, on my body shape. Just use a TK weight yarn. And this is actually a very special yarn. This is from Dark Omen yarn, and it's hand dyed by Francesco here in Italy. think I didn't mention that I'm Italian, but anyway. This is the Dynasty base, which is 85% merino and 15% yak, and the colorway is called Necromancy, and it is hand-dyed, but as you can see, it's more of a tonal colorway. It's not particularly variegated. I did not alternate skeins, so you can see that, for example, you have some areas that are darker, some that are lighter. Of course, here I attached a new skein to do the neck ribbing, so of course you can see, but I think it looks really nice. And I know the natural lighting is changing a little bit, but I think you can see that it's a very beautiful stormy purple. It's a very neutral. You can wear it with whatever color. So I think it's a very great colorway. You have some nice flashes of much more saturated color, and you have some mauves. So I think it doesn't take from the texture of the garment, but it adds some interest. I bought this at a convention, and I was really taken by the texture of this mix, because it's very, very soft, but also very fluffy. I would imagine it's woolen spun. It's very soft and fluffy, like there is no mohair to it. And of course you wouldn't have those long fiber that mohair has. Still fills out the space between the stitches quite well. And I love how drapey it is. It's a yak blend and it's hand-dyed, so of course it's not gonna be particularly cheap, but I think you can feel the difference. The only thing that I don't particularly like, and I'm not sure the reason behind it, is that you can quite clearly see, or at least I can see, where I spliced, so you can see it here. Like, not only of course the stitch where split splice gets a little bit thicker, but it kind of muddied the color a little bit. There are a few over here as well. It lost a little bit of the color, so I don't know what happened, because it didn't bleed. Here's another one. The color didn't bleed at all. I am a little bit more careful with this sweater. Don't wear it as much as my Robinson wrap cardigan, which is a much more sturdy fiber. There is some pilling. It's not more necessarily like pills. I wouldn't shave it just yet. Overall, I'm really happy with this base, and I have quite a bit left, so I'm not sure what to do with that. So what should I do with 200 meters of DK weight yarn? And don't say a hustler hat, please. You might think that I'm obsessed with this pattern, because I actually made 5, and 3 of them in like a month, alongside other things. So definitely quite a bit of love. I've already said that I was disappointed by one pattern by Petite Knit, the penny gloves, and the Ingrid Sweater. I thought it was okay, but this pattern I really love. So I have to give credit where credit is due. This is the Everyday Balaclava. It's a pattern for children, but spoiler, the biggest size fits me. So I think if you really like this, if you play around with gauge a little bit, you should be able to make adults pattern. And this is one other thing that, yeah, why not make adult patterns for this one. This pattern comes in 6 sizes, ranging from 39 to 55 centimeter head circumference. I have a 55 centimeter circumference, and this fits me. So apparently I have the head circumference of a 5-year-old child. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know, maybe fun fact about me, I would say. I've talked about already about the basic construction of a balaclava, and this does start with that. So you start over here with the cast on, you knit this rectangle, and then you pick up stitches. But here's where the magic happens. You have some increases, I think there were some short rows over here, you have decreases, and then you increase a little bit, you add stitches, you join in the round, and then you split for the front and the back of the neck. Tubular bind off, you pick up stitches all around the perimeter of the face, and you have a folded border that is very squishy. And what this gives you is tighter fit around the face. This comes forward a little bit more, like for example touches my eyebrows. It covers much more of the side of my face and the bottom, like a double chin. And this does, I think you can see that, I don't know, it adds some really nice roundness on the back of the head, because for example if you do the rectangle on top of the head and then you go straight down, you will end up always with a little bit of like a point, because I don't know how your head is shaped, but you're supposed to have some roundness on the back of your head, and this does accommodate that, and it's very snug and tight. I love this pattern. It's so engaging because you're always doing some shaping, short rows, increases, decreases, and it's very rewarding since it's a small garment, especially if you need the smaller sizes. It's over before you get bored of it. So, and the finished result, it's less flattering than the Balaclava number 2. Like I'm looking a little bit like a worm, but hey. I mean, when it's cold, sometimes you just don't care about this stuff, and I certainly don't. It's a great pattern for, I assume, kids. Like, I don't have children, but this type of garment, it sounds very practical to me. Like, you put this on them, you release them into the wild, and then they don't end up losing their beanies, strangling themselves with their scarf, you know, just they're done. They're ready to raise hell, I suppose. The samples that I made, this is the smallest size. Honestly, I just wanted to cast it on because I was so excited, and this is like the cutest thing ever. I'm not sure, I don't have around me kids this small. I actually do. Like, my friend just had a kid. This is worked on with just a random acrylic, this like stormy blue one, and a lace with alpaca, which is the dark purple. And I think the marling is very fun, and I thought the alpaca would add some warmth to the acrylic. The majority is acrylic, so it's easier to take care of. And I think it's very satisfying, you know, you have this very squishy tubular bind off, squishy border, so adorable. I made two pairs out of one skein of Malabrigo Rios in the shade Anniversario, which is not supposed to be this yellow, if you look at the pictures on Ravelry, but it worked great for these. So these are for two cousins, so they can be like matchy. This is the size, I think 4 to 6 months old, and this is the second to largest size, so it's 1 to 2 years old. It was super fun knitting these. It was my first time trying Malabrigo yarn, and Rios in particular, and it's like a sport DK superwash base that is hand-dyed. Apart for the colorway inconsistencies, it's one of those superwash yarns that is that feels very soft and almost silky, but not too bouncy and elastic. Really nice and vibrant. Look at that. This one I made it in the largest size. I just kept it for myself because it was too big. This is 2 scraps from my winter lights shawl, Dusty Artichoke and Slate Green. This one is itchier than this, but this one is super wash, this one is not, so no surprises there. I think I'm giving you a really nice overview on how this pattern looks on very different yarn bases. I made one in the second to largest size, and I used exactly 1 skein of Drops Baby Merino, which is a super wash merino, very bouncy and elastic. It was 1 size down from this one. I was actually able to fit this over my head, but I think it was because Baby Merino is a very stretchy superwash. But I imagine that it's better for children's garment to have stretchy fabric so they can wear the garment just a little bit longer. Baby Merino was really nice for that garment, or I would imagine for small pieces. I would be a little bit worried to use it just on its own for like a jumper or like a bigger garment that it might stretch and lose its shape. After having so much fun with the shaping for the everyday balaclava, I thought, I think socks sound like a nice idea, you know. It's a small project with a lot of shaping. It's over before you get too bored. I gifted myself, I'll blur this out in editing, I decided to make the Aurora Socks by Heli Riviera. I'm so sorry. These are my first pair of hand-knit socks. It was very fun. It was my first time in my whole life knitting socks, and the pattern was very clear. I had no issues following it. I did a gauge swatch and it turned out fine on 2.25mm needles. It's a top-down sock. You cast on here, you do twisted rib for the cuff, and then you do all of these type of smock stitch cables. It has a heel, I think it's called a heel flap and gusset, stockinette sole of the foot, and as I understand, this is a pretty common wedge toe, so it's there, you don't have a left and right foot. I had so much fun knitting these, and I was blown away by the overall like construction of the sock. You know, you start from here and then you knit this, you have stitches on hold, pick up, increases, decreases, and you have everything just without breaking the yarn. I thought it was brilliant, and as I understand, it's pretty standard, but I made this in the smallest size because I have a U size 36, and I squeezed out to like a pair of socks out of exactly 48 grams of sock yarn. I used Lana Grossa natural tweed in the colorway natural white. I don't know if you can see, there is a little bit of like matting and felting at the bottom of the foot. I don't have a lot of experience with knitting socks, so I don't know. Just wear them around the house because I'm so proud of them. I'm scared of ruining them, but I just have to get over that because they're meant to be worn, you know. I have enough yarn left to do some darning. I always end up with holes around my big toe in my socks. Maybe my big toe just likes freedom. I don't know. The color is really nice. I really like this. It's beigey with lots of like tweedy specks. I never lost any tweedy specks, so I think that's a great sign. They are really cozy, and I had a lot of fun just doing this very... It's not, I mean, it's not supposed to be a super intricate sock. I didn't have to, I just memorized the chart. One other thing that I can show you, because I made both and gifted them. My hair is weird. Karen's bonnet. It's a baby Bonnet pattern by Petite Knit. It's a very cute like smock stitch pattern for babies. I think the biggest one is like 4 years old. It was really cute. I made two for like two baby girls that came into the world this spring, and I used two very different types of yarn. The first one I made with a recycled denim. I'll add some pictures. And, like a pink colorway that has some like orange speckles, and the baby ended up having red hair, so it was super cute. The other one I made in like this very rich cherry fuchsia. The recycled denim was a little bit difficult to work with, a little bit almost squeaky, and it was really hard on my hands, and the gauge ended up being very tight. The other one, cotton and soy blend, it was much more stretchier and softer and silkier. Small project spotlight for you. Summer knits. This is my Tombo Tee handmade by Florence here on YouTube. This was my first ever test knit. It was so fun. I think I spammed the group quite a bit, and if I was annoying, I'm sorry. But I was so excited. It was my first time test knitting, as I said. I got to talk to a lot of other enthusiasts, and it was a very positive experience. I learned a lot, so thumbs up. And sorry again if I spammed you or was annoying. So this is a top-down saddle shoulder t-shirt pattern, and I'm gonna warn you, my sample is much more oversized than it's supposed to be. Of course, don't base your decisions on my sample, because it's not necessarily what you might want. But there is this type of fit, so if you like this, you can knit a size up and get a very flattering garment. It was part intentional, part not. I'm gonna explain that later. The Tombo Tee comes in 9 sizes that should accommodate a range from like 75 to 155 centimeter bust measurements. It's supposed to have some positive ease, 10 centimeters. I will have to check. The pattern is written for like 2 by 2 stripes, but I did just a plain one. And you have rounded collar with ribbing over here, the arms, and at the bottom. It's supposed to be a very straight, classic t-shirt fit, and I do agree with that. For that reason, when I applied for testing, I was in between sizes. Since I usually prefer my t-shirts to be on the slightly oversized, I signed up for the bigger size. I expected, of course, a bit of an oversized garment. For that reason, I chose one that was very, very drapey to ensure that, because as I said, if there's something is a little bit boxy, I prefer it to be slightly cropped, to wear it with high-waisted pants or skirts, and I would like it to be drapey and not have a shape on its own, because that usually makes me look a little bit. I signed up for a size that I knew was slightly bigger for me. I was a very good test knitter. I did all the like 28 by 32, I don't remember, square. I wet blocked it. It was perfect. But something happened, and my gauge was off. The fabric is stretched out in width even more after I blocked it, so I ended up with a very wide t-shirt, but I don't mind it absolutely. I wear it like tucked in jeans or skirts, and I love it how like, fluid it is. The pattern is very clear. I had no issues. When I joined in the round, I was off by a few stitches, but it was probably me, even though I was like counting like crazy. I didn't mention it. This is a fingering weight pattern, so definitely it's a little bit of a slog product knit rather than a process knit. Yeah, you have some stockinette back and forth, and then you have some like mindless stockinette in the round. You have some increases and decreases, but a lot of knitting, and it's all stockinette, so it can be a little bit of a slog. The garment that I ended up with is something that not only is very versatile, but I've used it quite a lot with very different outfits. It held up beautifully, no signs of wear whatsoever. It does benefit from an ironing, sadly, because I fucking hate ironing. A great pattern if you want a classic t-shirt, knitted t-shirt. I used a tubular bind off for all of the ribbing with 2 rounds of double knitting, and I think it was a great choice, especially for the yarn that I used, because since there is no stitch memory, that prevented the ribbon to just flare out. Some testers had the color like sticking out a little bit, like sticking out straight. I've never had these issues because I did pick up stitches just following the pattern, and I ended up with a very flattering collar around the neck. I made sure to tighten as hard as I could while doing ribbing, because just a personal preference, I don't love 1x1 rib. I hate how it stretches out. Whenever I do 1x1 rib, I usually like yank the yarn just a little bit before any first purl stitch, so you get much tighter ribbing. But that's not only is very annoying, and it doesn't work as much for the amount of effort that it requires you, but it's really hard on the hands as well. So yeah, but that has nothing to do with the pattern, just a personal preference. The yarn that I used is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Cream. It's like held single. I was really curious about trying that because this summer in Italy was so hot, wet and sweaty and disgusting that I said fuck you to all of the synthetic fibers. I was like, give me all the linen and the silk and the cotton. I love this fabric. It drapes beautifully. I know it looks very basic, but I think this particular colorway, this cream, I think it should be called Pearl. It's not an off-white. It has some both cream and pink undertones, and I like to say it's a lively color. For example, off-white, icy blue, icy gray, they're not lively, but this one it is, but it's not too warm or pink. I think it would flatter anyone. You can see that it's pretty long. Like even the shoulders are a bit bigger. I mean, like, you can see that it's a size up. And I think if I wanted to have a more closer fit, I would have to choose, for example, two or three sizes down. So I would have way less ease around my bust, but it would fit my shoulders and my biceps and my bust. But anyway, love this. I would love to make another one next summer, but I want to try a different fiber because, spoiler, I used a lot of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk this summer, and even though I love it, I absolutely love it, I would like to try some more, so there was a small interruption. Another summer project was Look at My Hauls by James and Watts, and this is a raglan t-shirt. It's designed to have short sleeves, but if you look up on Ravelry, there are so many different interpretations of this lovely garment. Long sleeve, full-on dresses. I think it's brilliant. I don't know, it's a big mesh t-shirt. Side note, I think mesh knits are absolutely great as layering pieces. You can dress them up or down. You can wear them with so many different outfits, and depending on how you layer them, it can be so versatile. I knew I was gonna use this quite a lot. This pattern comes in 9 sizes that should accommodate chest measurements from 76 to 160 centimeters. Maybe I didn't mention all of the sizes that I needed. All of the details are on my Ravelry for you to to reference. I've been filming for a bit, so I'm a little bit tired. So yeah, I knit this in the size L, and I use 3.2 skeins of Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colorway Cowl, so just the black. It's half double. It's knitted on 5.5mm needles, if I'm correct. Yes, so quick knits, low yardage project. You could just whip it out in a few days. Lovely details. The pattern has been updated this summer to have some shaping on the back. I used a little bit more because it's designed to be very cropped, but I just lengthened it just a little bit because I wanted to. I'm not gonna repeat myself in my love for Knitting for Olive pure silk. I think it's great. I love it. Very consistent thread, very comfortable to wear it in the summer. So many lovely examples of this particular garment on Ravelry. Very colorful ones, full-on dresses, marled yarn, dapple. I think you should just go wild. I would love to make another one. I've been eyeing some Ito silk tape yarn. I think that would be very beautiful. Yeah. Summer knit number 3, sorry. This is the white top by Knitting for Olive, and it's a camisole pattern with I-cord details, and it's knitted from the top down. Very lovely shaping. I'm gonna prove you that this is very bra friendly. Like, I mean, you have thick straps, like this is not flimsy stuff, like it is support. Okay, you have some big cups over here. It's not a flimsy balconette, you know. She thick. I haven't seen a lot of hype for this pattern, and honestly I don't understand why. It's so beautiful and flattering. Me holding it here doesn't do it justice. Sorry, I didn't mention the size. It comes in 8 sizes that cover a range from 76 to 150 centimeters of bust measurements. It should have negative ease. If you can stomach all of this 2x2 rib, I think you should knit it. And I hate ribbing, but I made this anyway. And I would do this again, for sure, absolutely. I wore this so much during the summer. I did one modification. It's not a mistake, but maybe a miscalculation. I started with a provisional cast on because I wanted to adjust the length later. But you can see there is like a half a stitch jog. But anyway, because I wanted to adjust the length of it after trying it on, and added few increases on the sides. So you had a shaping around the hips. And knowing what I knew, what I discovered, knitting the Tombo Tee, I knitted this 2 sizes down. Fits me great, even though silk doesn't have the stitch memory, so it doesn't snap back. The actual shape of the garment is so flattering, even if it stretches out with wear and with the warmth of your body. It still retains its very flattering shape. I think this pattern should have much more hype than it actually does. One thing that happened with this garment in particular, and a very big motivation for me to make it in this video, is because I'm asking for advice. When I blocked this, I left it in the sun, which I shouldn't have done, so totally my mistake. But I don't know, I think you can see it kind of oxidized on me or something, I don't know. You can see that the knit stitches and the purl stitches are slightly different colors, and I think there is a part even down here where, oh yeah, you can see this part was like leaning down, so it was in direct sunlight Sometimes it bothers me. In some certain lights you can see it more. What should I do? Should I over dye it? What are your suggestions for that? I am gonna wear this regardless, and I know I will be making another one. I have my eyes on Dererum Natura Antigone for quite some time. I look at these pictures and they're so glossy and juicy. I want it. Summer t-shirt. Actually, this one is not mine. I made this for my mom. This was another test knit, actually, from Minimi Knit Design, which is Cristina, Italian knitwear designer. She does very structural geometrical knits, which are very interesting. Pyramid in the round, top down in the round, like top t-shirt, twisted ribbon detail, and you have it has twisted stitches running around the front and the back, because there is no shaping, so the front and the back are exactly the same. And yeah, there is some very simple shaping. You cast on from here and then you increase here, you join in the round, and then you go down. I would recommend this pattern for beginners. There is no shaping. It's a quicker knit because it's on a DK weight gauge, like 4mm needles, and I had a lot of fun working on that. And I think it's very, very flattering. I've tried it both on myself and on my mom, and this color suits her very well. The neck opening is very flattering, and it does, if you're a little bit self-conscious about your arms, not that I think you should be, but I know that I myself can be quite self-conscious about my arms, and that does cover that, and it cuts on a very flattering angle. And since it's top down, you can just knit it until you run out of yarn. Speaking of that, I used exactly 3 skeins of BC Garn Soft Silk in the colorway Lobster, which is this beautiful raspberry gelato pink. Absolutely beautiful. And you can see that soft silk is much more of an irregular rustic fabric than, of course the gauges are different, but you can see that BC Garn Soft Silk has a much more rustic, irregular look than the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Depending on your project, you might choose one or the other. It's not false advertising, it is very soft. I really love the slightly thick thin feeling that the soft silk has, and I think it plays really nicely with these textured stitches in the fabric. The finishing are like standard bind-offs, which are actually very beautiful. I really like standard bind-off, and I like the fact that it has some like raw rustic aesthetic, but it looks very elevated. Yeah, I think it's a very lovely pattern, and thank you, Christina, for the trust, choosing me to test knit this. I would definitely make one for myself. I think I would make this in white or like a cream, because I've seen some beautiful samples of this, and it does really enhance the textured stitches. Leave me your suggestions down below for summer yarns that I should try. With summer knits, what I did actually next in the autumn was a lot of gift knitting. This one, my biggest one, is the Cable Trellis Cowl by Stephen West. I've made one of these last year as well, so I know this pattern very, very well. You start from here, basically, and you knit in the round, and you increase, and then you decrease it, and then mattress stitch. This is designed for a solid main color and a striped contrast color, but as I said, you can do whatever you want. And I love this shape because it is very versatile. You can wear it like this. You can fold it down to have like a quadruple thick cowl around your neck. You can raise it a little bit over your head, maybe if you're like going out for a very quick errand and you want your ears and the back of your neck covered. You're going cycling to work and you don't want to wear a beanie. I don't know. You can wear it just front and back. I think it's a great design. And if you don't like this particular stitch pattern, there are many of this type of shaped cowl. In like you have the bubble cowl, the waves, another one with the new dip stitch. I think this is a brilliant shape. It's not necessarily the quickest thing to knit, but it's definitely very, very cozy because it's double thick, if not quadruple, if you like fold it down. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. It comes in only in one size. I think this type of garment, you wouldn't necessarily need more sizes. You might want to adjust your gauge. Actually, I made this one for a friend. This friend asked me to make this because she saw the one that I made last year, and she thought, you know, that looks brilliant. I would really wear this, and would you please make this one for me? And she's a very knit-worthy friend, so I gladly made this for her. The yarn that I used, I was so surprised by. So my friend chose the colors. I used Drops Lima for the main color, and it's a woolen alpaca blend in like a DK worsted weight gauge. And for the contrast color, I used Symphony yarn by Knit Pro. In the colorway, I think it was like Night Lights. It's a sock yarn, jewel tones, very nice. I'll add some pictures of the skein. Accompanied it with another skein of this very beautiful rainbowy Rico mohair. And this created the fluffiest, coziest cowl, I think, in the history of mankind. It's very warm. It doesn't itch me. I know some people are sensitive to alpaca. I find the Drops Lima to be very, very soft and almost like velvety and squishy. All these stitch patterns are very squishy and cozy. And this mohair, maybe I didn't mention that. I think it not only doesn't itch me, at least, but it doesn't shed. I hate the fact that mohair sheds a lot. Like, I wouldn't be as upset in the case of like rainbow mohair fluff, because rainbow is a neutral, goes with everything. So if you have to have mohair fluff up your nose, it's not a great yeah, but if you have to have more fluff, let it be rainbow. I am a bit sad to part with this. It is definitely a labor of love if you knit this for someone, but I think it's worth it. It's beautiful, it's cozy and squishy and warm, and I think it's a little bit more practical than a classic scarf. 10 out of 10. Plus, like, look at this color change. Beautiful. Made a lot of random hats with scraps and stuff. Just wanted to have something mindless alongside another project that I did for a commission. This, for example, was made with the scraps from my sweater number 21. This is Drops Air in the colorway Purple Haze. Really nice and squishy and warm. So I'm gonna just do some like shotgun reviews over here. Double folded brim. This was me trying to, not necessarily reverse engineering, but I wanted to understand how these things would work, because I do not own the Oslo hat pattern. I don't think I'm going to details away telling you that there is a turn at a certain point. I was like, yeah, absolutely, that's how you make something like this. While it looks pretty cool, I don't love the fact that, especially if you're gifting this type of a hat, you have to know that this person wants to wear this hat just with that fit and that particular size brim. Because, for example, if I wanted to have a more slouchy hat, I can't necessarily do it because there is this thing. So it was me like trying to find a way for my hats to fit my vision. And this one I furiously knit in a day, I think. I knit this on 7mm needles. This is 2 strands of drops brushed alpaca silk, and 1 strand of like a random mohair from my local yarn shop. And I made this very quickly because I wanted to wear at the November Women's March parade, because, you know, we're destroying the patriarchy one obnoxiously pink beanie at a time. Just a side note, I remember like Florence from Handmade by Florence discussing beanies having a lot of room on the top of the head, and I do agree. I don't like that look. I'm fine if it's slouchy, but I don't like specifically when hats like go up and you have this like hollow thing over top. Sometimes it like goes like this. I don't like that. I'm fine if it's slouchy, so it's like empty and slouchy at the back. Yeah, I like. Like here, I worked this while I was at the movies at the 40th anniversary screening of The Exorcist, and no, I brought there a mohair pea green project that sounded absolutely hilarious to me. Like the other 4 people didn't hail me as the genius that I am, you know. I am so funny. Anyway, I don't remember right now the yarn that I used. I think it was Laine du Nord. It's a tweed, I think. It's a mixture, and some lime green mohair. This is quite big for me, but it has some room at the top, but if it's slouchy, as I said, I don't mind that. And what I wanted to is study away. So I could have a beanie that I could fold up, but I could also wear more like slouchy without having that. And I don't know, this is huge for me, but I didn't care. I just wanted to have some mindless stuck in around to knit at the movies in the dark, you know, watching The Exorcist. And another, this I think is the best. This is a fingering plus mohair knitted on 4.5mm needles, so it's much more airier, because I wanted to try this type of construction for a hat, because yes, this is big for me, but I like the fact that this is I can wear it like this, fold it over, just fold it double, squish it very hard on my head, make it very, very short, you know, like those fuck boys that you find around, I don't know, two colors, so you're like having 6 hats in one. I think I'm a genius. The first time I filmed this podcast and I was watching the footage back, I cringed so hard that I gave myself the nastiest tension migraine ever. I still have a little bit of like a bump. I did not bump my head. I just cringed so hard. Yeah, so I really enjoyed these hats in the last few days, because it's like this like sausage of warmth right over there, over here, and that prevents you from freezing your muscle in that position like forever. I have an unfinished object, but considering it's the 19th of December, I am confident that I'm gonna finish it by the end of the year. So I'm showing you. This is the Levitate wrap by my favorite things knitwear. I'm just gonna... So this is a wrap cardigan with a drop shoulder, double knitted edges, and a double knitted ribbon on the bottom over here. It's meant to be quite oversized. Again, I knitted a size down that I was supposed to, and you can see that it's pretty big anyway, so it's maybe a little bit tighter than it was designed to be over here, but I'm not like swimming in it. So far the pattern was very clear, and I did all of the double knitting over here. I did it like all around the body, and I'm working on the first tie. You know, if you're familiar with this pattern, button over here and a tie. So I have to finish the ties and the sleeves, but I am quite confident that I'm gonna finish it by the end of the year. The yarn that I used, I don't know what came over me to do a cardigan with a lot of double knitting in a bulky brushed alpaca, but here I am. I'm using Alpaca Brush by Laine du Nord. It's 75% alpaca, 15% wool, muslin-free wool, and 10% nylon. And the colorway is 26. I assume the nylon is the thread that keeps it all this fluff together. It's very strong. It's never snapped on me. It's very, very soft and fluffy. I don't find it itchy at all. It's very warm. Like, honestly, I cast it on because I have this in stash, and I thought this sounded like the coziest thing ever. I am a little bit hating myself for choosing to do all of this double knitting in this fluffy yarn that you can see anything. I think I'm gonna really enjoy the finished object, especially like in January when it's gonna be quite cold. I already feel like the difference between how my bust is warm compared to my arms, and I think even like in the spring or autumn, just as a jacket, almost outerwear piece, it's much more I don't want to say inclusive size range, because honestly, as I said, 70 to 140, 150 centimeters, I think it's a bare minimum. And I'll keep you posted. Lighting has changed quite a bit since I left off for having a small lunch break. Right for the sun. I forgot to mention my very small summer accessory. This is the Penelope Kerchief. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I discovered it through Emily Hefeburnet's podcast. I think it was really fun to work on. You have this lace that is very engaging. Then you have the stockinette. There are instructions on the pattern on how to customize the width. You start from here, and then you increase, and then you like go on and increase for as much as you like. So for example, maybe you would want this to be like a triangle scarf. You could potentially go and make it much bigger. Then you do an applied I-cord, like ties. This was the summer that I discovered headwear, not because it was fashionable or anything. It was a necessity because I actually burned my scalp in like late May, and it was really annoying. So whenever I was around for a few hours, I was wearing this or like other scarves, bandanas, stuff like that, because burning on your scalp is not great. I highly suggest you avoid it. I don't want to be like appropriative of any particular like hairstyle or wrap style. So yeah, if you have some suggestions for something to cover your pale person scalp, like the skin that is showing on my part, just burn. The yarn that I used were leftovers from this crochet cardigan. Go handmade. I bought it from Hobby. It's the Tencel Bamboo Fine. I know it's, I would say, pretty well, because I've made a whole lot of cardigan with it. Like, pros and cons. Pros, It's super soft and silky, absolutely stunning. And has beautiful drape. And one thing I've noticed is that it's extremely strong. Like you can't just yank it, you just have to cut it. You will hurt your hands if you were to try and break it. We know that tencel is a very strong fiber, and it's even, of course, something that is very sustainable. We should use it a lot more. And I would like to try some other tencel fibers, because yes, this is beautiful. Honestly, like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever touched. Even this, it's absolutely beautiful. The experience crocheting it and knitting it is quite different. A con of this yarn is that it has some weight and it's extremely slippery. I had to wrap it 3 times around my index finger to tension it. At the same time, it splits. And of course the splitting thing is much more noticeable and way more annoying when you crochet rather than when you knit. I do tension my yarn the same way for my knitting and for my crochet, but I think the motions of knitting are less prone to splitting it. So I didn't find the splitting like so much of annoyance as I did when I was crocheting it. I could just do like double, triple, but like puff stitches, forget about it, because of course you have to do all of the loops and then pick up another loop and go back inside all of them. You're never gonna do a puff stitch. You just can't, because there are so many strands and they don't stick to each other. So have like 5 strands forming like a thread, but there is nothing that is holding the actual plied thread together. So actually when you do all of the loops going back and forth, it's just a mess. These are very simple crochet stitches, and I did bubbles, but the level of profanity were something to behold. I think, yeah, I'm gonna like burning hell for the rest of eternity. The splitting was less of an issue in terms of knitting. It was slippery. Did use birch needles. I might want to try again with bamboo needles, because they usually have a little bit more of a grip. I love the finished look and the feeling of it. It is quite expensive. I have quite a bit of leftovers, so I just wanted to try and make a small project with part of my leftover, but I have plenty more. I think the pros outweigh the cons, but I would choose very simple stitch patterns, whether if you're knitting or crocheting with this. I mean, the lace looks really good. I'll give this yarn that. One thing for like hair, I have to use like bobby pins to pin it down, because even though I don't have the most beautiful silky hair, it's just... Last garment that I finished this year was the Rota Jumper by Irene Lynn, and I don't have it here because I did not knit that for myself. I was asked by a friend to make one for their significant other, and I gladly did that. It's I'll add pictures here somewhere. It's drop shoulder, very oversized mesh knit, but you have some like ribbings around the front, very cropped sweater, and it's designed for have 3/4 sleeve, but you have the instruction to knit them to like full length, or even if you want to have a longer sweater. The construction is quite similar to the sweater number 21. So you start from the back, you shape the back with increases, then you pick up stitches, knit the fronts, join the fronts, knit a little bit more, then you join in the round, and then you go straight down, pick up stitches for the armholes, and then knit down. So pretty standard drop shoulder construction. Sizing. It comes in 7 sizes, and you're given a finished object measurements. I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it, because if you stick with the amount of positive ease that is recommended by the designer, and you like do the very simple math that even I am capable of, you know, the biggest size is 160 centimeters, so that will mean the maximum size, chest size, is 120, so that is definitely not a lot. But I think the thing is that including only finished object measurements is that you can pick the amount of ease that you want for yourself. So if you know that a certain garment has, like, I don't know, for example, 10 centimeters of positive ease, and you like how that fits on you, you choose that size instead of the designer saying, you know, you have this chest measurements and then you should need this size, because I tell you that you should have that amount of ease, because that hasn't, for example, worked for me. I still have mixed feelings about it, and I would like to know your opinion. My personal experience with this pattern is that I knitted the first size. I've knitted for someone that was way more petite than I am, but I was trying it on anyway just to check the measurements, and I could wear it. Like, I would have probably sized up just to have a much more relaxed fit. It's interesting to have just the finished object measurements, and then you just pick up whatever fit that you feel is the best for you based on your own experience of wearing your own clothes. You know which one you prefer, the look of them on you the best. So that is that. Of course, it was very fast. I mean, the fastest it could have been, because I was knitting a smallest size for 5mm needles. Pretty straightforward. It is very detailed. Some else would just say, you know, follow the crisscross pattern as you did with the body. No, everything is written down. So sometimes you're like, what do I have to do now? And then it's the same thing that you have been doing for the rest of the jump. It was a very, very long pattern. Like, it was like 20 pages. Very, very detailed. For that sample, I used a flower Easy Care Merino in the colorway Wood Thrush, which is number 2065, sorry. It says like a heavy fingering weight, held double on 5mm needles. I had to double check that it was superwash merino, because it didn't feel like superwash. It's one of those more similar to like sock yarn, but not necessarily like the silkiest sock yarns. It felt similar to that, so a little bit of bite, and it wasn't scratchy, but it had this very like more dry feeling instead of smooth and silky like some other superwash yarns. And I think it was really interesting, and because it kept some of that bite that the wool has instead of the cotton. You have the fibers gripping just a little bit into each other, and enhances the three-dimensional quality of the stitches that are featured on the pattern, which are quite simple to follow. Do the repeat a few times, learn them by heart, and then you can just go straight till the finish line. It blocked beautifully, and it didn't stretch as much. Again, I was worried a little bit with superwash, because sometimes when you block superwash, it gets like 3 sizes bigger. I was expecting it to grow a little bit, of course, because all of this lacy pattern and the ribbing tends to like scrunch up, and then when you block it, like the stitches relax, so you actually gain quite a bit of length and width. But it was great. The person who commissioned it was really, really happy. I liked it a lot, and I think I'm going to knit one for myself. Maybe, I don't know, later in the autumn, we'll see. Last finished object is quite special. I was gifted this skein of Noro Silk Garden by my girlfriends on my birthday earlier this year, and I was, what should I do with that? And I wanted to make a beanie, but then I said, you know, I'm really liking this balaclava life, but I wanted to have something that is a little bit looser and easier to like put it down, like not something that was so tight around my head. So I was looking around Ravelry for some hood patterns, and I came across the I can't remember the pattern right now on the top of my head, but it was by Vitre. It was absolutely beautiful, but the thing is that it was all ribbing, and I didn't want to have anything to do with ribbing. So I thought like I should try and make one. I've made enough balaclavas this year. I think I can make it. So I knew that I needed some more. So I went to my local yarn store that carries some random skeins of Noro, and I bought another colorway of the Silk Garden. It's the Aran weight version of the Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo, so it's the Aran weight. And I couldn't, of course, find that specific colorway that my friends gifted me. So I thought, yeah, well, you know, I'm just gonna buy a second one in like colors that would look good together, and then and this is what I came up with. I've called this the oil slick hood, mostly because I think it looks like oil slick. All these colors marled together. I'm gonna talk about the construction later, but just to show you what I was looking for. I was looking for something that was a little bit looser. So for example, I'm just going inside a building. I can just put it down like the hood of a hoodie. Yeah, I can just wear it up. I wanted to have it tighter around my face. I can just do that. And I thought I wanted to have it in stockinette stitch because I had two very special skeins of yarn with beautiful colors. I want them to have center stage, and I didn't want to do any ribbing because I'm just made that way. For the construction, it was a mashup of all the things that I've learned this year. Cast on quite a few more stitches. I used 5mm needles, and then I striped the two skeins, like one row and one row each. Like, it was a little bit weird because usually when you do stripes you do multiples of two, because you do the wrong side and then the purl side with the one color and then the other, but I wanted to 1-on-1, so I had to do the right side row with one color, scoot the stitches to the back again, and do another right side row with another color, and then again. So you're like doing 2 rows on the right side and 2 rows on the wrong side. It's more of a hand-dyed feeling rather than striping, and I love the fact that there are some parts where you have 2 very different colors interaction together. Some places they like blend together, they fade into each other. Then you have bam, like this, like it's a place that is completely different. Here we have all the 2 purples melting into each other. Then you have this silver gold moment over here. The silver going into the blue that melts with the purple. Yeah, just construction wise, you pick up stitches from here. I knitted my rectangle wider at the base here, but then when I picked up stitches, I added like I think it was 3 or 4 increases at this side. So you see you have just slight rounding at the back of the head. It goes straight down, and then here I cast on the same amount of stitches. What I did to use all of the yarn that I could possibly do is that I stopped at a certain point here. I broke both the strands of yarn. I picked up stitches for the folded border. I striped the two yarns together. I did one row above this thickness that I wanted, and then I attached just some scrap yarn because I didn't want to have some of the precious yarn, you know, hidden next to my face. Scrap black yarn, it's wool. And I did all of the final rows and the bind off, so I didn't waste any of my precious no row. I did the same for the folded hem over there. I just went, reattached the skeins, knit for as long as I finished the yarn, a few centimeters, and folded them over. Is all scrap yarn. I was a little bit crazy with not wanting to waste any of my Noro, so I remember I was weaving all of the ends for as much as I could, and then snipping and splicing all of the ends together, making this cursed Frankenstein of a thread. I think it turned out fine. If I were to knit this again, I would probably add some increases right here. You have some more shaping. The yarn I absolutely love. I think it's really fun. It doesn't itch at all for me. I love the drape of it. I didn't mention the composition of this. Noro silk garden is 45% mohair, 45% silk, and 10% wool. It's very luxurious. It's a single ply, but I feel it's very, very strong for being a single ply. It's fluffy and lofty, and I love it around my face. And despite it being so colorful, I think it fits with everything because rainbow is neutral. So yeah, I hope I didn't forget anything. I have probably forgotten something, but from me and my knitting recap, of course, wearing a crochet cardigan, peak knitfluencing content, I think I'm done. I am really done with this year. It's been absolute mind fucking shit show, absolute, I don't know, like dumpster fire, what the fuck. Yeah, fuck 2023, honestly. Like I'm just so done with this year. And but I don't know, maybe this is gonna be the year I'm becoming a huge knitfluencer. I'm getting so much money that I have to not work a day in my life anymore. It's never gonna happen, but a girl can dream. Sorry. I just hope for next year to be better. For me first, I wish you best. I wish you to have a happy year. I wish you to be healthy or as healthy as possible. And I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this ever. So I don't know. See you, I don't know, next time in the void. See you in outer space. I don't know, maybe this is gonna last, I don't know, interweb for thousands of years. Aliens are gonna discover this and think that our entire society was overruled by this chick in Granny Square cardigan. Who knows? Yeah. I'll see you, I don't know where, and if ever. Bye.